Silence. Breathe. Because what you're about to hear isn't just another video. It's a divine interruption in your timeline. While everyone rushes around, while screens scream and the world demands you keep going the same way, the heavens placed a finger on your name and said, now. It wasn't yesterday, and it won't be tomorrow. Now. This second is an open door that won't reopen the same way. Listen, if you feel a slight warmth in your chest, a lump in your throat, or a clarity you can't explain, that's the sign. It's not coincidence. It's how the divine confirms it. I'm speaking to you. You've been asking for answers, direction, a real turning point. And here it is, but it comes with a condition, your decision today. Because what's lost can be found, what's impossible can open up, and what seemed dead can breathe again. If you respond, imagine for a moment the messenger of light standing at the height of your story with his flaming sword. He doesn't accuse you, he awakens you. He doesn't push you, he calls you by name, and his voice cuts through the noise with a heavy phrase, "Don't delay your yes." In the next few minutes, you'll understand why it was so hard to move forward, which door got blocked, and how to unblock it. But first, seal the moment. Right now in the comments, I open my heart. It's not just symbolic. It's a legal signature in the unseen. A consent that authorizes heaven to work in the visible. If you're ready to cross over, stay. Don't close this window. What comes next isn't motivation. It's direction. And when direction arrives, destiny accelerates. Stop for a moment. Close your eyes and feel the air entering your lungs. Something is moving around you. Something that doesn't come from the world, but from heaven itself. It's a call that pierces the noise, a vibration seeking to enter your spirit. It's no coincidence you're hearing this now. It's not just another message. It's not any ordinary voice. It's an invisible trumpet sounding from on high, resonating inside you. From the beginning of time, heavenly trumpets don't sound by habit. They sound when something on earth must awaken. And today that trumpet bears your name. While the world sinks into distractions and souls sleep in routine, heaven has decided to break the silence to reach you. The Archangel watches the open heavens and descends with a clear message. Awaken, because the time has come full circle, and it's not about the end of the world, but the beginning of your true purpose. Your spirit has been chosen to hear what many ignore. Because while some sleep in complacency, you were marked to perceive the invisible. There's an alert not everyone hears. It's not announced on news shows or posted on social media, because it's not transmitted through human waves, but through eternal vibrations. It's an intimate, deep, personal warning, not to instill fear, but to awaken your discernment, because heaven sees what you still can't. A door is about to open, and the enemy will do everything possible to distract you right before the miracle. That's why the message arrives with the force of a trumpet. It's no longer time for whispers or subtle signs. It's time for definition. Your spirit knows something is coming. You feel the pressure, the coincidences, the repeated dreams, that sense that something big is being prepared. You're not imagining it. It's heaven's trumpet vibrating inside you, trying to align you with the purpose the world tried to steal. The Archangel has set himself in motion, and when a messenger of light moves, it's because eternity has decreed action. He doesn't come out of curiosity or to give you passing comfort. He comes because there's an appointment marked for you, an encounter written in the eternal calendar that's now fulfilling before your eyes. Don't ignore the urgency. Every second of doubt delays a door. Every excuse is a chain closing again. Today, heaven interrupts your life because it loves you, and the love from above doesn't give up, doesn't retreat, doesn't stay silent. That's why this invisible trumpet sounds with power in your spirit, calling you to awaken, to look beyond, to believe once more. This is the beginning of the message, the warning before the miracle, the spiritual battle call announcing that something new is descending upon you. What you'll feel from this moment on won't be coincidence. It'll be confirmation that heaven has spoken and you've been chosen to listen. There are moments in history when heaven touches the hands of time and everything stops. The universe seems the same, but in the spiritual realm, an alignment has activated. That moment is now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when everything is calm. Now the Archangel watches the Creator's eternal clock, the one that doesn't follow human minutes or hours, but the perfect precision of divine purpose. Each tick of that clock doesn't measure seconds. It measures obediences, decisions, awakenings. And today, its sound echoes directly in your soul. Listen carefully. If you felt like the days repeat, that nothing changes, that time slips away without meaning, it's because heaven allowed you an apparent pause to prepare you. The delays weren't punishments. They were hidden trainings. The closed doors weren't rejection. They were prophetic protection. And what seemed like endless waiting was in reality heavenly synchronization. The Archangel leans in and says, "The clock has struck the exact hour. It's your turn." Because there are moments that come only once. And this message marks the precise minute when your soul and destiny align with the heavens. What didn't work before, what seemed to frustrate, what you didn't understand, now it starts to make sense. Every tear shed was recorded. Every silent prayer was counted. Every failed attempt was part of the perfect calculation. Heaven didn't rush ahead or arrive late. It arrived right on time. And that time, though it seems like any other, isn't. Because when heaven marks its hour, reality changes. It's the invisible minute where decrees are sealed, where angels take positions, where the story starts turning in the right direction. You asked for signs, and this is the clearest one. You're living the exact instant heaven wrote in its calendar, not a day early or late. It's the hour when promises start to ripen, when purpose activates, and when the pieces that didn't fit begin to align. The Archangel shows you that golden clock suspended in the air with one word engraved in its center. Now. There's no second hand because heaven doesn't measure seconds. No hands because heaven's time doesn't turn. It fulfills. And that word shines like pure fire. Now feel your heart racing, something inside you starting to awaken. What you're feeling isn't anxiety, it's revelation. Heaven is showing you that everything you lived, the good, the painful, the uncertain, brought you to this exact point. This is the moment when the invisible begins to manifest. But there's something deeper. The Archangel tells you this time doesn't just mark a change in your life, but a transition in the spiritual realms. Portals are opening, assignments are being delivered, and heaven needs you awake, aware, available. That's why his voice thunders in you with urgency, not to rush you, but to align you. Because what's coming requires your yes, your response, your active faith. Look back for a moment. Everything you thought was loss was preparation. Every closure was a starting point. Every night of silence was rehearsal to recognize heaven's voice when it arrived. And it has. The prophetic clock doesn't move by chance. Its hands turn when a soul decides to open. When someone says, "I'm ready," and today that someone is you. So don't let fear delay your response. Don't say tomorrow, because tomorrow belongs to man, but now belongs to God. Declare it out loud. I accept this time. Receive me now. I walk in sync with heaven and write it below as a spiritual seal in this instant. I arrive on time because when you confess it, the clock stops ticking and purpose begins to fulfill. Feel it. not with your ears, but with your soul. There's an invisible echo inside you, a battle fought not with swords or words, but with thoughts, emotions, and decisions. That battle doesn't happen outside you, it happens within. As you listen to this message, two forces clash for your attention. One whispers hope, the other resignation. One pushes you to believe, the other convinces you to wait another day. One speaks of destiny, the other says it's too late. That's the silent war of every soul called by heaven. The Archangel watches that battle with eyes of fire and declares, it's not your mind that's tired, it's your spirit fighting to survive. Because while you doubt, spiritual forces try to keep you asleep, wanting you to postpone your faith, to believe everything will stay the same. But heaven hasn't lowered its voice. Heaven shouts with tenderness and power, awaken, because this is your moment. Every negative thought telling you, you can't, you're not worthy, you'll never change, doesn't come from heaven. It comes from the noise, trying to interrupt your divine frequency. And while you listen to it, the Archangel raises his sword and says, silence to every voice contradicting your purpose. There's an enemy strategy heaven wants to reveal to you today. Darkness doesn't need to destroy you. It just needs to distract you. While you believe you still have time, that you'll decide tomorrow, that you'll start praying when things calm down, the battle is won without you firing a single thought of faith. But when you decide, when you say no more, when you take the message and act, you break the cycle of the invisible war. That's why the Archangel comes to tell you, don't postpone your faith. Don't negotiate it. Don't silence it. Because every time you silence what you believe, a part of you dims. But every time you declare your faith, even if your voice shakes, heaven rises in your favor. This war isn't won with physical strength. It's won with small decisions that alter the spiritual world. Deciding to forgive when you want to hate. Deciding to trust when you don't understand. Deciding to move forward when everything in you wants to give up. Those are your weapons. The enemy doesn't fear your tears. He fears your determination. Because a soul that keeps believing, even wounded, is invincible. The Archangel shows you an invisible field. Millions of souls walking without direction, bound by thoughts of defeat, exhausted by doubts, repeating the same mistakes over and over. And among that crowd, one light stands out, yours. Because even if you didn't know it, every time you prayed, every time you sought meaning, a signal ascended to heaven like fire. That signal was seen, that signal was answered, and that's why this message reaches you today. Heaven has decided to intervene in your mind, yes, your mind, where battles are born, where fear gestates, where dark thoughts try to build walls. That's why this message isn't just for your soul. It's to break fear's dominion over your mind. The silent war wants to convince you that believing means losing control. But the heavenly truth is that believing means surrendering to perfect control. The enemy wants you to think faith is naivety. Heaven wants you to discover that faith is divine strategy. Because where reason runs out, faith opens portals. Now listen to this carefully. In every negative thought you've had in recent days, that idea of giving up, that sigh of exhaustion, that doubt disguised as logic, it was detected in heaven. And in that instant, the Archangel received orders to descend. That's why this message found you. It wasn't an algorithm or chance. It was a response. While the world offered distractions, heaven was preparing you for a confrontation, the battle for your faith. And the Archangel declares, today an army rises within you. Your spirit will take command because the silent war won't end with an explosion. It'll end with a decision. And what is that decision? Believing when everything tells you no. Acting when you feel fear. Affirming your faith out loud, even if you don't see results yet. That's your victory. Today, heaven gives you an order. Break the silence. Declare your faith publicly. Don't say it just to yourself. Write it as testimony and as a weapon. Right now in the comments, I don't delay my response. I believe, I trust, and I obey. That simple act will resonate like thunder in the spiritual world. Because as you write it, the Archangel raises his sword over your mind. The noise fades, fear retreats, doubt vanishes, and in its place, a new frequency establishes itself. The frequency of heaven, the frequency of living faith. You've survived the silent war, and now heaven declares, the battle in your mind is over. Victory has been pronounced. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a sky covered in shadows, dense clouds, a heavy silence as if something invisible is about to manifest. Suddenly a light tears through the darkness. It's the glow of a flaming sword, a flame that doesn't burn but purifies. The air vibrates, the earth trembles softly, and then you see it. The Archangel, standing between the invisible and the eternal, holding his sword like a beacon that dispels the fog on your path. That sword isn't made of metal, but of living truth. Every flash it emits cuts a lie, dissolves a doubt, topples a chain. Where there was only confusion before, now there's clarity. And the Archangel, with a voice not heard by ears but by the soul, tells you, I've come to lift you, not to rebuke you. I've descended not to judge, but to ignite what still breathes in you. Because what heaven wants you to understand is simple and profound. You don't need more strength. You need light. And that light is direction, understanding, revelation. The enemy works in darkness because he knows that where there's clarity, there's no control. That's why the Archangel doesn't just fight for you. He also illuminates you. Every time you invoke him sincerely, his sword doesn't destroy physical enemies. It breaks the shadows around your discernment. It cuts the fog that kept you from seeing the purpose behind your trials. In this instant, his presence extends over you. His fire doesn't scorch, it cleanses. His gaze doesn't condemn, it affirms. And his voice echoes in the center of your spirit. Don't keep walking without light, because faith without direction wears out. Many pray, but few see, because they pray from darkness. The Archangel comes to ignite your vision, because when you see what heaven sees, you no longer stumble. You don't retreat. You don't fear. Look at what he shows you. Ahead of you, there's a path that seemed closed, blocked by walls of confusion, pain, fear. But when his sword rises, every stone becomes a step. The terrain that was rough before now shines like crystal. That's the sign. The Archangel's light is tracing your path. And where you saw a labyrinth before, now you'll see a map. The Archangel doesn't work with crowds. He approaches the willing soul, the one who says, I don't know how, but I trust. And when he sees that disposition, heaven authorizes him to act. His sword isn't a symbol of human war. It's a divine tool that opens portals, activates promises, and reveals hidden roots. Maybe you felt like you're walking without direction, taking steps, but seeing no results. And heaven responds to you today. You weren't lost. You were just walking without light. That's why the Archangel has descended with his flaming sword, to show you what the enemy hid, to clarify what doubt distorted, and to confirm that what you're asking for does have an answer. Feel how that light envelops you now, in your mind, your heart, your emotions. That light enters the places where fear built walls and starts breaking them from within. Don't resist it. Let it pass through you, because every ray of that sword is a prophetic word heaven pronounces over you. The Archangel positions himself in front of you and extends his sword toward the horizon. He doesn't tell you walk without fear. He tells you walk with me. That's the difference. Because when you walk alone, darkness catches up. But when you walk with the light, darkness retreats at your step. The Archangel then pronounces a decree. Every shadow covering your purpose will be cut. Every tie hindering your advance will be broken. Every door sealed by fear will open before your faith. And as he says it, a flash pierces the heavens. The spiritual ground trembles, and certainty invades your soul. You're not walking without guidance. The guardian has taken position in your favor, but he asks something of you. Participation, because his sword illuminates, but you're the one who must advance. He doesn't push, he opens. The step is yours. Every act of faith you take, a prayer, a confession, a decision to forgive, is a step on the terrain his sword just cleared. That's why now the Archangel speaks to you directly. Child of the Most High, don't stand still before the door I just opened. Dare to cross, dare to believe, dare to advance. That voice has power because it's no metaphor. It's a decree spoken in the unseen. And every time you repeat it, you reinforce heaven's action. So now, as you listen, say it out loud, even if it's a whisper. I walk in light. I'm not alone. The Archangel goes before me. That declaration is more than a phrase. It's the spiritual signature that activates protection over your path. Every word from your mouth lights up another stretch of the trail. The Archangel smiles because as you pronounce it, your spirit aligns with purpose. And when there's alignment, the miracle stops being a promise and becomes reality. Now heaven watches your response. Listening isn't enough. You must seal the moment. That's why I invite you to write this prophetic phrase in the comments. I use the key of faith and walk under heaven's light. When you do, the Archangel will move his sword once more, and the remaining shadows will dissolve. What was hidden will reveal itself, and what seemed blocked will open effortlessly. Because when the Guardian rises, he doesn't just protect your step, he illuminates it. And today, that sword is over you, flaming, shining, alive, waiting for just one thing, that you keep walking. Listen carefully, because what heaven is about to do in your life now isn't to comfort you, but to heal you at the root. What's coming isn't momentary relief, but a deep liberation that lets you advance without dragging the weight of what was. Because the Archangel doesn't just come to announce your future, he comes to redeem your story. For years, you've walked with unseen wounds. Wounds that don't bleed outside, but burn silently every time you try to trust. Every time someone approaches, every time you remind yourself you've gotten over it. But you hadn't healed. You just learned to live with the pain. Heaven knows it, and that's why today it sends its messenger with a divine order. Heal it, restore it, cleanse it, because you can't keep advancing carrying a cross that isn't yours. The Archangel approaches you. His wings open like a mantle, covering the memories of your past. And from his sword, now wrapped in golden light, descends a stream of purifying fire. That fire doesn't burn, it liberates. And in that instant, heaven reveals something you may never have understood. Every pain you lived, every rejection, every betrayal wasn't divine forgetfulness. It was spiritual training. Yes, every tear had purpose. Every night without answers was a seed of strength. Every blow that marked you became the tool with which you'll now heal others. The Archangel whispers, what broke you prepared you. What wounded you shaped you. What you lost taught you to discern. Your past isn't a prison, it's a workshop. And though for years the enemy wanted you to believe you were a victim of your mistakes, heaven reveals today that you were a divine construction project. Watch now as scenes from your life unfold before you. Moments when you said, I can't take it anymore. Instants when you felt God had gone silent. Days when loneliness was your only company. None of it was random. Each of those stages formed in you a sensitivity heaven needed to activate, because the chosen are forged in the wound, not to stay there, but to become healers for others. The Archangel places his hand on your chest and says, "Don't carry any more what was already redeemed. Don't define yourself by the chapter where you were wounded, but by the book where you'll be restored." And in that moment, something starts happening in the unseen. You feel the air change, an unknown peace settling on your soul. Something inside you, an old emotion, an image, a guilt, starting to detach like dry leaves the wind pulls away without pain. That's the beginning of the miracle. Heaven's fire is entering places you could never reach. Those memories where you stored what you didn't want to remember. And it's transforming scars into testimony. What hurt you before will now be a source of wisdom. What humiliated you before will now be your message of power. And what you thought was lost will be living proof that heaven never abandoned you. Listen, the enemy exploited your wounds to make you believe you were broken, unworthy, that your story had no fix. But the Archangel declares, with a voice thundering in the heavens, no human harm can nullify a heavenly design. Your value doesn't depend on what they did to you, but on what God wrote about you before it all began. Heaven is rewriting your memory. Every hurtful word, every betrayal, every disappointment is being reprogrammed by divine light energy. Your mind will remember, yes, but without pain. Your soul will speak of what it lived, but without tears. And your spirit will recognize that everything that wounded you was the exact preparation for the purpose now beginning. The Archangel tells you, look, your scars are beautiful, because in each one there's a mark of survival. Your testimony that pain didn't conquer, that fire touched you but didn't consume you, that the wound closed and in its place a new heart was born. Now heaven asks for a sacred act. Close your eyes and say softly, I forgive, I release, and I forgive myself. That phrase isn't simple. Every word pronounced breaks old contracts, topples strongholds of guilt, and erases the past's footprint in the present. Feel the air change, the burden dissolve, something inside you lighten. What you're feeling isn't imagination, it's liberation. And as that happens, the Archangel raises his sword again, and the glow it emits forms a cross of light expanding over you. That cross isn't a symbol of pain, it's of renewal. It represents the exact point where heaven decides to transform everything that hurt into power. Now repeat with your heart, what wounded me no longer defines me. What hurt me no longer stops me. Today, I walk healed, free, and restored. And as a final seal, write in the comments the phrase marking your rebirth. I release the past and embrace my destiny. When you do, you'll be spiritually sealing what heaven has already done in you. And every time someone reads that phrase, the energy of your healing will multiply in others. Because what closes today isn't a wound, it's a cycle. And when a cycle closes in heaven, nothing and no one can reopen it. The Archangel smiles and pronounces the final decree. From this moment, your past stops hurting and starts shining as proof that you survived. Your story won't be your shame, it'll be your banner. And from today, what was a wound will be power. Stop. Make silence inside you. Feel the weight you carry, that tiredness you don't always confess. Those responsibilities crushing you, those emotions you silence because you think they should already be overcome. The Archangel looks at you, and his gaze doesn't judge. It understands. He knows how much you've carried, how much you've silenced, how much you've held up so everything doesn't collapse. And now, with a firm yet tender voice, he tells you, the time has come to give me what's breaking you inside. Heaven can't fill hands still clutching worry. It can't pour its peace into a heart still embracing control. That's why the Archangel descends with a clear mission: to exchange your burden for rest, your anxiety for direction, your weight for purpose. In the spiritual world, every sacred exchange requires an act of faith. So now heaven invites you to a gesture. Imagine before you a luminous scale. On one side is everything overwhelming you: the fear, the debt, the illness, the sadness, the guilt. On the other side is the divine promise waiting. But the scale won't tip until you release what you're carrying. The Archangel places his hand on your back and whispers, "You weren't born to live exhausted. You weren't created to survive under burdens you can't sustain." Your soul asks for relief, and heaven has already sent the answer. "Give me what weighs, and I'll return what heals." And in that instant, something profound moves. You feel a soft but powerful presence enveloping you. It's the energy of heavenly rest, not bodily rest, but spiritual. That sensation that arrives when you finally stop resisting, when you surrender to the certainty that you no longer need to do it alone. The Archangel raises his sword, and this time not to fight, but to cut the invisible threads tying you to worry. The what ifs. What if it doesn't work out? What if I make a mistake? What if they abandon me again? Every doubt is a thread, and every thread keeps your soul bound to unnecessary weight. But one by one, the sword breaks them, and as it does, heaven declares, the burden you surrender today will never weigh on you again. The enemy wants to keep you tired because spiritual exhaustion makes you vulnerable. When the soul is worn out, any lie sounds logical. That's why rest isn't a luxury. It's your armor. Because when you're at peace, the enemy can't manipulate you. When your mind rests in the divine, confusion loses power. Heaven doesn't want you to advance by force. It wants you to advance in lightness. The Archangel shows you a powerful image, a luminous yoke descending from on high. It's not made of iron, but of light. And as he places it on your shoulders, he says, "This is heaven's yoke." It doesn't weigh, it guides. It doesn't oppress, it aligns. It doesn't demand, it accompanies. Because my yoke is easy, and my presence is rest. And there, in that divine exchange, something changes inside you. What was pressure becomes direction. What was anguish transforms into peace. And the inner silence is no longer empty. It's fullness. The Archangel whispers, "Don't confuse surrender with failure." Surrendering to heaven isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because when you give up control, you activate divine intervention. Rest isn't passivity, it's trust in motion. Every breath you take now has spiritual power, because as you inhale, you receive heaven's energy, and as you exhale, you release the soul's burdens. Do it once more. Inhale faith, exhale fear. Inhale light, exhale weight. Inhale purpose, exhale tiredness. Now listen. The Archangel extends his sword toward heaven, and from it falls a golden rain, fine, luminous, that touches your shoulders and forehead. That rain is a symbol of inner renewal. Every drop dissolves the exhaustion accumulated over years. Every beam of light enters the corners where anxiety hid. And as that happens, heaven writes a new decree over your life. From today, you'll live light, walk in peace, your mind will rest, your soul will trust again. And then the Archangel speaks to you one last time in this scene with solemn voice. Don't pick up again what heaven already carried for you. Don't try to resolve with your hands what only light can order. Every time you feel tired, remember this instant. Remember how it feels to be sustained by the presence from above. Because rest isn't the end of the path. It's the point where heaven starts walking with you. Take a pause. Feel the weight go. The Archangel smiles because he knows the exchange is complete. You're no longer who started this prayer. You're lighter, clearer, freer. The burden is gone, and in its place remains supernatural peace. Now heaven invites you to seal this moment. Do it with your words. Write them as testimony of your liberation. Leave in the comments, "I leave my burden in heaven's hands and receive its rest." That phrase will be more than a declaration. It'll be a spiritual contract between you and the divine. Every time someone reads it, their heart will feel the same relief you're receiving now. Because when heaven asks you to release, it's not taking from you, it's preparing you. And when you release the burden, God takes control. Imagine a long corridor before you. The walls are ancient, covered in marks, and in front of you is a large door carved with symbols you don't understand. You try to open it, push, force, hit, but it doesn't budge. You get frustrated and wonder why heaven doesn't respond, why the path seems closed. Why do dreams stop right when you're about to reach them? And then a soft but powerful voice says, "It's not force that opens doors. It's the right key." The Archangel appears at your side. His presence radiates calm and authority. His wings unfold like a golden dawn, and in his hand shines a luminous key, forged not in metal, but in faith. He shows it to you and says, "This is the key that opens what was sealed." It wasn't denial, it was protection. Heaven didn't close doors on you. It guarded you from entering the wrong ones. Your soul trembles because you start to remember how many times you mistook God's wait for a no. How many times you called failure what was really preparation. And the Archangel explains with firm voice, heaven doesn't close doors as punishment, but to direct your steps to the right door. And now that door is before you, but it won't open with desperation, only with obedient faith. Then he asks you to look at the key he holds. It has no teeth or physical form. It's made of words you must pronounce yourself. Every phrase of faith, every sincere prayer, every act of obedience is a turn of that key. When you trust, the key turns. When you forgive, the lock yields. When you release control, the door opens. The Archangel places the key in your hand. You feel a sacred warmth run through your fingers. That key has memory and recognizes your story, because it wasn't forged in easy moments, but in your hardest nights. Every tear you shed, every failed attempt, every time you said, "I can't anymore," was a spark that shaped this spiritual key. That's why only you can use it. No one else. No one else has your process, your wounds, your faith. And that's why no one else can open that door. The Archangel smiles and tells you, "You hold in your hands the key you waited for from me, but the power isn't in the object. It's in your decision to use it, because faith isn't useful in theory. It activates in action." Then he points to the great door before you. Words appear on it, starting to shine like fire. Promise, mission, restoration. The air fills with energy. Your heart pounds strongly. The Archangel raises his sword and touches the ground, generating a vibration felt in every cell of your body, and pronounces the decree that changes the atmosphere. What was blocked is now enabled. What was sealed opens. What the enemy withheld is released. A burst of sacred wind sweeps the place. The invisible hinges begin to yield. The door trembles, and a ray of light emerges from the other side. That light isn't just a vision. It's the manifestation of the new time arriving for you. The Archangel then leans in and tells you with deep voice, "Every door has its price, and yours was the faith you kept when nothing seemed to make sense." That faith is heaven's currency. That's why access now belongs to you, not by merit, but by fidelity. He asks you then to bring your hand close and place the key in the lock. You feel a tremor not of fear, but of pure energy. As you turn it, you hear an ancient sound, an eternal click, as if the universe itself recognizes your obedience. The door opens slowly, and a wave of peace and fullness floods you. It's the air of the new dimension heaven promised you. The Archangel invites you to cross, but pauses you for an instant and says, "Don't go back to knocking on doors I already closed. Don't return to the past just because you know the terrain. Dare to walk the land you don't yet know, because that's where your destiny fulfills. And in that moment, you understand something revelatory. Not all doors were yours. Some were designed just to test your faith. But this one opening before you now has your name engraved in fire. You feel heaven's energy piercing you. Your body trembles. Your mind clears, your spirit awakens. The light on the other side is so intense that tears start falling uncontrollably. They're not tears of sadness. They're tears of liberation. Tears announcing the wait is over. The Archangel pronounces one last instruction: walk without fear, because what opens today will never close again. And remember, every time you doubt, use the key again. The faith that brought you here will be the same that keeps you going forward. Now, as you hear these words, place your hand on your heart and say softly, the right door is open. I walk with faith and purpose. That declaration is more than a thought. It's a heavenly code. The moment you say it, spiritual dimensions align and new opportunities start moving in your favor. The Archangel smiles and vanishes into the light, leaving the sensation that something eternal has just begun. Seal this moment. Write this prophetic phrase in the comments: what's mine opens. Heaven gives me access, because when you declare it, you activate it, and what opens today will never close again. Heaven has delivered the key, and the Archangel has fulfilled his mission to teach you that what's blocked doesn't open with force, but with faith. Make silence again, because in this part, heaven won't speak to you with thunder or fire, but with whispers. The divine voice doesn't compete with the world's noise. It stands out by its peace. The Archangel approaches, and his presence doesn't roar. Breathe. Every movement of his wings produces calm, as if the wind itself kneels at his pass. And with tenderness, he tells you, not all voices you hear come from heaven, and not all signs you see are true. That's why I've been sent to teach you discernment. The current world is full of noises, disguised as wisdom, opinions presented as truth, advice that seems like light, but they come from ego. Millions of voices speak every day, but only one can guide you without confusing you, heaven's voice. And that voice has a signature, a mark, an unmistakable frequency. It speaks with love but authority, with peace even as it confronts you. And when you hear it, you feel inside a certainty without explanation. The Archangel extends his sword, not as a weapon now, but as an instrument of clarity, and traces a line of fire between truth and illusion. Every word he pronounces illuminates thoughts not born from heaven. There are voices that flatter you to distract, and others that confront you to elevate. Not every sweet voice is divine, nor every correction rejection. Learn to distinguish the tone of love that corrects from the echo of fear that confuses. Then he invites you to remember, how many times did you follow an impulse thinking it was God, but it turned out to be your anxiety disguised as faith? How many times did an intense emotion make you decide quickly, only to understand later that heaven wasn't in a hurry? The Archangel teaches you, heaven's voice never pushes. It always invites, never accelerates, always aligns, never confuses, always illuminates. In that moment, something starts revealing itself before you. You see images, thoughts, emotions heaven places before your consciousness. Some shine with golden light, others dissolve into shadows. The Archangel explains, these are the sources of your decisions. The ones that shine come from love. The ones that fade are born from fear. And you've lived too long listening to voices fed by fear. Fear has its own language. It tells you, you can't, you're not worthy, you'll fail, it's too late. But heaven's voice tells you, you can because you're not alone. You are worthy because you were created with purpose. You'll arrive because it's already written. The Archangel then invites you to a sacred exercise. Close your eyes and remember the last time you felt confusion. Think of that moment of indecision when you didn't know whether to advance or wait, to trust or give up. Now feel the atmosphere of that instant. Was there peace or anxiety? Love or fear? Because that's the secret. Heaven's voice is recognized by the peace it leaves, the enemy's by the haste it imposes. The Archangel tells you with solemnity, don't believe everything you hear or think, because not all ideas in you are yours. Some were sown to distract you, others to awaken you. That's why you must learn to separate emotion from purpose, doubt from truth. And as he says it, he touches your forehead with the tip of his sword. From its edge emanates a blue light that expands and covers your mind. That light represents the gift of discernment, the divine ability to recognize heaven's voice among 1,000 others. You feel a new clarity entering your consciousness. Ideas order themselves, worries dissolve, and for the first time, you understand what you only intuited before. The Archangel continues, when heaven speaks to you, you won't always understand with reason, but you'll feel it with the soul. And when you hear it, don't seek confirmation from people. Seek it in the peace it leaves in your spirit. The divine voice doesn't impose, it reveals. It's the murmur that interrupts your chaos with tenderness, the idea that arrives when you have no strength left, the thought that repeats trust just when you're about to give up. That's the voice the Archangel wants you to learn to recognize. Then he points to his heart, and from it emanates a sound, a pure vibration not heard with ears, but with the soul. It's heaven's language, and its frequency is being recorded in your spirit right now. From today, every time you hear it, you'll know you're not confused, that heaven is speaking to you directly. The Archangel looks at you with tenderness and adds, discernment isn't guessing. It's seeing with the soul's eyes. It's listening beyond the noise. It's recognizing truth without needing proof. And with softer voice, almost like a sigh, he reveals, there are messages heaven sent you before, but your mind, distracted by worries, didn't hear them. That's why I'm here to help you tune your spiritual ear, because the next message you'll receive will be key to your destiny. And if you learn to recognize it, you'll open a portal of blessing that changes everything. The atmosphere fills with intense white light. The silence deepens. The Archangel places his hand on your chest and says, may your thoughts be light. May your decisions be guided. May your emotions be purified. And every time you speak, may your voice carry heaven's frequency too. You feel something inside you change. Your mind is no longer a field of noise, but a garden of calm. And for the first time, you understand that discernment isn't hearing better, but loving more, trusting more, and having the humility to hear heaven before fear. The Archangel then steps back and proclaims a decree over you. From today, your spiritual ear will be opened. You'll recognize heaven's voice, even when it speaks in silence. You won't fall into confusion or follow shadows disguised as light. You'll walk under direct divine guidance, and your steps will sync with perfect will. And heaven confirms it with a breath passing through you, light but powerful. It cleanses, clarifies, centers you. Finally, the Archangel looks at you one more time and says, don't fear silence. That's where I speak. That's where truth reveals. That's where, in what the world calls emptiness, the voice of the eternal echoes. Seal this moment with a confession of faith. Place your hand on your heart and say softly, may my ears open to heaven's voice and my steps follow its direction. And if you want to seal it with power, write it in the comments too. I open my ears to heaven. May my discernment awaken, because when you write it, you materialize it. And when you declare it, heaven responds. From now on, you'll never walk confused again. Heaven's voice will be your compass, and peace your confirmation. And every time heaven speaks, you'll recognize it. Look around. The world celebrates the big, the immediate, the visible. But heaven, in its infinite wisdom, works in the small. Because in the small lies the power of the eternal. And that's where the Archangel wants to focus your gaze today. There are people waiting for big signs, spectacular miracles, thunderous answers. But heaven knows true change doesn't start in thunder, but in humble gestures that go unnoticed. A thought aligned with faith, a word spoken with love instead of anger, a silent forgiveness offered, a thank you pronounced even in pain. Each of those acts, though seemingly insignificant, moves invisible structures in the spiritual world. The Archangel descends and bows before you. In his hand, he holds a handful of small seeds of light and tells you with deep, compassionate voice, these are the acts heaven values most, the ones the world ignores, the ones you think are small, but that open giant doors. Then he drops one of those seeds on the ground, and immediately a luminous root sprouts, extending to touch heaven. And the Archangel explains that's how the kingdom works. One sincere act of love generates echoes that cross dimensions. A brief prayer, a kind gesture, a right word can alter an entire story's course. Because big miracles aren't the result of one huge action, but of constant faith in the everyday. God doesn't seek heroes. He seeks hearts that keep believing in the simple. Every time you choose good over indifference, every time you help without expecting gratitude, every time you pray for who hurt you, you're participating in heaven's silent revolution. And that revolution changes your surroundings, your relationships, and the spiritual frequency of everything around you. The Archangel looks at you and smiles. You think your prayer has no power, that your effort bears no fruit. But what you do in secret, heaven amplifies in public. Then he raises his sword, places it on your shoulder, and adds, never underestimate simple gestures. Faith isn't measured by the magnitude of what you do, but by the purity with which you do it. The entire universe reacts to a heart aligned with light. In that instant, you feel something inside awaken, a new, deep, revelatory understanding. You realize every thought can be a seed or a thorn, and you choose what to plant each day. Because heaven doesn't watch so much what you achieve, but how you decide to advance, even when no one applauds. The Archangel shows you visions, an elder praying alone in his room, and with his words sustaining generations. A mother blessing her children every night without knowing her voice wards off evil. A young person helping in silence without expecting recognition. A heart that forgives and breaks a cycle of pain in their whole family. And he tells you, this is what moves heaven. This is what activates promises. This is what conquers darkness. The small is the great in God's eyes. The Archangel takes your hand and places a tiny light in your palm. Every day you love, even if it hurts. Every day you believe, even if you fear. Every day you give without receiving, this light will grow. And it will reach a point where that small flame is so strong, it not only lights you, but those walking beside you. Then he asks something more of you today. Do a small act, but do it with all your heart. It could be forgiveness, a prayer, a kind word, a brave decision. Do it and watch heaven move in your favor. Because faith isn't always measured in mountains moved, but in steps that don't stop. Transformation doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it comes like a sigh that changes everything. The Archangel continues, when you choose to do good, even when no one notices, you're participating in divine love's alchemy. Because true love doesn't seek reward, but always generates miracles. You don't know who you're inspiring every time you choose light. Your example can ignite fires in hearts you thought were out. And with firmer voice, almost like a decree, he proclaims, the enemy fears constant souls. Because one act of faith repeated day after day has more power than 1,000 prayers said without heart. That's why today I tell you, be faithful in the small, because heaven will entrust you with the great. You feel something rising inside you, a new strength, a sense of purpose in simple things. The Archangel smiles because he knows you've grasped the secret, that faith isn't an event, but a habit, and that every act of love, no matter how small it seems, is another key opening the door to destiny. Heaven now invites you to make a declaration, a phrase that will seal this teaching in your spirit. Say it softly. The small I do today will be the miracle blooming tomorrow. And if you feel it in your heart, write it in the comments too, because when you declare it, you activate it. And when you share it, you multiply the blessing. The Archangel raises his sword to heaven, and from its tip detach sparks of light falling like rain on the earth. Every drop represents an act of faith, a gesture of love, a sown seed, and heaven declares, from today, every act born from your heart will become multiplied blessing. Nothing will be in vain. Nothing will lack fruit, because in the kingdom, the small doesn't get lost. It blooms in the eternal. And as you hear these words, you know your life will never be the same, because you've understood that heaven's power manifests in the everyday. And the greatest miracles begin with invisible steps. So smile, lift your gaze, and say with conviction, today I sign my faith with small acts and a giant heart. That phrase pronounced with faith won't just be your commitment. It'll be the seal opening the heavens over your life. There are nights that don't end. Nights when the soul screams in silence, when the clock seems not to advance, and God's promises seem suspended somewhere in heaven. Those are the hours when your faith feels weak, your hope wavers, and the enemy whispers it's not worth believing anymore. But the Archangel approaches. His step makes no noise, but his presence breaks the density of tiredness. He stops at your side, watches you, and says, heaven hasn't forgotten you. Don't confuse silence with abandonment. The night isn't punishment, it's preparation. Dawn doesn't delay, it's waiting for your perseverance. Every chosen soul must pass through the dark night, because it's in darkness where faith becomes spiritual vision. When you see nothing, you learn to look with the heart. And when everything seems still, heaven works in the invisible. God hasn't left you on pause. He's repositioning you. The Archangel raises his sword and plants it in the ground before you. From its edge sprouts a soft light, like a fire that doesn't burn. This is the flame of perseverance, he says. It doesn't go out with the wind of tiredness or the rain of doubt, because it was lit by the Creator's own breath. Look at that flame. That light represents what's still left in you, that spark refusing to die, that fragment of hope, though small, still burning. The Archangel teaches you something powerful. Faith isn't measured by how strong the fire is, but by how many times you relit it after it went out. How many times you fell and got up again. How many times you cried and still said, I'll keep going. How many times you prayed without seeing results and kept praying anyway. That's and nothing else. The perseverance that moves heaven. God doesn't seek perfect souls. He seeks souls that don't give up. Because the kingdom is built by those who decide to advance, even wounded. By those who hold their faith even when the soul trembles. The Archangel shows you a vision, a seed in the earth's darkness. From outside, it seems buried, but in the unseen, it's breaking its shell, expanding roots, preparing to sprout. And he tells you, you're not buried. You're being sown. Heaven didn't hide you, it planted you. And soon, when the right season comes, you'll sprout with force because your root was forged in darkness. That darkness you fear so much isn't your enemy. It's the soil where faith germinates. There, in the depths of waiting, heaven is strengthening your foundations to sustain the coming blessing. The Archangel continues, every day you resist without giving up, something in the unseen breaks. Every tear you shed without dropping faith becomes water nourishing your seed. Every I believe pronounced in pain echoes in heaven like a thunder of power, because there's a type of faith that doesn't form in abundance or joy, but in dryness and silence. That's mature faith, the faith that holds worlds, the faith forged in nights where it seems God is silent, but He's actually writing your victory. The Archangel invites you to remember, how many times did you think you couldn't take more? And yet here you are. How many times did you feel it was the end, and yet you dawned once more? That wasn't luck. It was heaven's intervention in your resistance. The Archangel positions himself behind you, extends his wings, and envelops you in them like a soft fire cloak. Every time you felt alone, my wings covered you. Every time you collapsed, my sword planted before you to stop darkness from advancing. You thought no one was there, but heaven always sustained you. The trials weren't to destroy you. They were to reveal the strength inside you. And now that you've reached this point in the message, the Archangel tells you, you've survived what the enemy thought would destroy you. So don't stop now. The hardest part is over. Dawn is closer than you think. And in that instant, heaven shows you a golden horizon. In the distance, the first ray of light peeks through the shadows. It's faint, but enough to remind you night isn't eternal. Darkness retreats, silence breaks, and the promise starts to shine. The Archangel raises his voice and proclaims, blessed are those who don't give up. Blessed are those who wait amid chaos. Blessed are those who cry and still believe, because they will inherit the fullness of what heaven promised. And then, as if the entire universe responds, a current of sacred wind sweeps the space. Your body feels it. Your spirit recognizes it. It's the force of perseverance activating in you. The Archangel looks you in the eyes and says, perseverance isn't just resistance, it's trust in motion. It's faith that doesn't go out when the miracle delays. It's the soul that doesn't surrender because it knows the promise is worth more than tiredness. And you, child of heaven, have already been found persevering. Now place your hand on your heart and repeat softly with voice trembling but firm, I don't let go until I see the promise. I don't retreat even if the night is long. My faith doesn't depend on what I see, but on what I believe. Feel those words engraving in your spirit. They're not just phrases. They're seals of covenant, eternal declarations. The moment you pronounce them, heaven clothes you in new armor. The armor of perseverance. A faith that doesn't break, doesn't yield, doesn't forget who called it. The Archangel then pronounces a final decree over you. From today, you'll walk with heavenly resilience. Your spirit won't break, your faith won't go out, and your heart will be unmovable because those who don't retreat advance toward their purpose. And you, beloved child, are closer to victory than you imagine. The horizon lights up completely. Dawn's light touches your face. You feel immense peace, absolute certainty. You did it. The night didn't conquer you. Silence didn't break you. And though tiredness lingers in the body, the soul now burns with new hope. The Archangel smiles and says as he vanishes into the dawn light, the sun doesn't stop and neither will you. The promise dawns with you. Walk, child of heaven, because the time of darkness is over. Seal this moment. Leave it in the comments as testimony and eternal decree. I don't let go until I see. Heaven's light sustains me, And so heaven will know you understood that perseverance wasn't empty resistance, but the art of keeping faith even when night seemed endless. Breathe, take a deep pause, because what heaven is about to reveal in this instant isn't just about your life, but the lives entrusted to you. The Archangel stands before you with serene but intense gaze, and his voice sounds with gravity, leaving no room for indifference. Child of the promise, you're not here just to receive blessings. You're here to be a channel for them. The purpose that brought you into the world doesn't end with you. It begins with you. These words fall like sweet fire, igniting your interior, shaking you because you know there's truth in them. For a long time, you thought your struggles, pains, processes were just for your personal growth. But heaven reveals something bigger. You're a link in an eternal chain. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every step of faith you take echoes beyond generations. The Archangel raises his hand and the air starts vibrating. Before your eyes projects a luminous image. You see your ancestors, men and women who fought, cried, and dreamed before you. Some knew God, others didn't, but all left in the fabric of your story a seed heaven kept for this time. And the Archangel declares, you're the harvest of prayers others made. You're the answer to ancient pleas, but also the start of a new generation of promises. Your obedience today is tomorrow's sowing, and then you understand, purpose isn't a goal. It's a legacy. Heaven didn't call you just to live better, but to break cycles, open paths, ignite lights others will follow. Every time you choose good amid chaos, faith amid pain, forgiveness when you could revenge, you mark the spiritual history of those coming after you. The Archangel walks around you and drops a golden mantle over your shoulders. It's not a luxury garment. It's the mantle of purpose. Woven with threads of obedience, tears turn to gold. Silent acts of faith no one saw but heaven recorded. That mantle identifies you as bearer of eternal promises. And then the Archangel says something piercing the depths of your soul. You weren't born by chance. You weren't an accident on earth. You were a plan in heaven. God thought of you before time and wrote your name in the book of purpose. And though years, trials, or your mistakes tried to erase that writing, divine fire has reignited it. You feel a shudder. The mantle's weight isn't physical, but you feel the responsibility, the greatness, the call, because you understand there are people connected to your obedience. Lives that will transform not by your words, but by your example. And the Archangel continues, when you believe, others believe again. When you rise, others find strength to do so. When you advance, you open path for the lost. Don't underestimate your process's power. In that moment, heaven shows you another vision. You see a giant tree with deep roots and immense canopy. Each root shines with ancient names and dates, your ancestors. And on the branches, new names start appearing. Some you know, others not yet born. And the Archangel tells you, every prayer you make, every step you take in faith nourishes this tree. Your roots are being restored and your branches strengthened. What you heal today, your generations won't have to heal. What you build, they'll continue. Your story doesn't end with you because your purpose is designed to transcend your time. Your bridge, inheritance, seed and fruit. Heaven chose you to close dark chapters of the family past and open portals of blessing for the future. What was cursed before becomes divine inheritance in you. The Archangel takes a golden scroll from his belt and unfolds it before you. Written on it are the words, restored lineage. And as you read, a celestial voice declares, by one's obedience, many will be blessed. By one's faith, many will see miracles. By one's perseverance, a generation will be free. You fall to your knees. You feel something inside align with a higher will. You no longer feel anxiety for the future. Now you feel holy responsibility. You know your life no longer belongs just to you. And in that instant, the Archangel places his hand on your head and says, "You'll be remembered not for your achievements, but your fidelity. Not for what you accumulated, but what you gave. Not for what you reached, but what you inspired. Your legacy will be light, and your name will resonate as symbol of transformation. A current of golden energy pierces your body. Your spirit strengthens, your mind expands, and you feel something inscribed in your soul's depths, an eternal commitment to the purpose heaven entrusted you." The Archangel pronounces the decree sealing this part. From today, your steps will leave mark on those following you. Your voice will be seed of faith, your story testimony, and your name banner of redemption. Look up. You see a line of light ascending from your feet to heaven, connecting you directly to the source. That line represents the legacy uniting you with the eternal. You no longer walk alone. A legion of souls walks with you, depending on your fidelity, inheriting your faith, your prayer, your transformation. That's why the Archangel reminds you, don't give up now, because if you fall, they delay. But if you believe, they liberate. You're the key for many. You're the bridge for a generation. Your life is a living decree. Heaven falls silent. The moment is solemn, sacred. Then a higher voice, the Eternal's voice, echoes from the unseen. I've placed in you the flame of purpose. Don't let fear's wind extinguish it. Walk knowing your inheritance won't be pain, but victory, love, and faith. The Archangel nods, and the air fills with an indescribable fragrance, a mix of myrrh, fire, and eternity. You feel peace, power, and clarity you've never had. You know what you just received isn't emotion, it's a divine commission. Now heaven invites you to seal it with your words. Place your hand on your heart and say firmly, I accept my purpose. I am a channel of blessing. My generations will live free by my obedience. And if you feel it, write it in the comments as testimony. I consecrate my lineage. What begins in me will continue in them. Because what you confess fulfills, and what you declare with faith, heaven signs. The Archangel smiles. His sword shines like liquid gold, and as he rises slowly in the light, his voice echoes in your spirit. Your story will be seed, your life legacy, and your faith eternal. Because when heaven chooses one, it blesses all who come after. Close your eyes, feel the air, the silence enveloping you. Though you think you're alone on your path, something moves around you. Invisible but real presences of light walking with you since birth. The Archangel at your side steps closer and pronounces with a voice that calms and shakes at once. You were never alone, not even for a second. Even when you thought no one understood you, heaven had already assigned company to your soul. And then you see it. Your spirit begins to perceive what human eyes can't capture. Around you, a legion of light beings manifests. Angels, messengers, guardians, righteous souls interceding, divine forces surrounding your story. They're not there by coincidence. They're there because your life has value. Because heaven marked you with purpose, and purpose always brings protection. The Archangel raises his sword, and from its edge emanates a golden current expanding like a circle of luminous fire around you. This is divine coverage, he says, a fence of light surrounding you, not allowing the enemy to cross, dissolving shadow before it touches you. This is proof you belong to a much larger heavenly family than you imagine. And then you understand something profound. The spiritual path was never designed for solitude. God didn't call you to isolate, but to belong, to be part of a living community, a body breathing the same faith, a network of souls sustaining each other when one falls. The Archangel bows before you, looks at you with a mix of tenderness and authority, and says, don't isolate anymore. Isolation weakens faith. The enemy feeds on solitary souls, but ignited communities make him retreat. Where there's unity, heaven manifests with greater power. Then he raises his hand and an image projects before you, a circle of people praying, crying, lifting each other, sharing hope. Each is a torch, and when united the fire multiplies. And the Archangel reveals, this is how the kingdom builds, not with isolated individuals, but with ignited hearts uniting. One soul alone can pray, but a community can transform cities, break curses, liberate generations. That's coverage, the union of souls holding in light, because the fire you share never goes out. Every word of encouragement, every shared prayer, every act of love reinforces that invisible net heaven uses to protect you. The Archangel extends his wings and opens them over you. The shadow doesn't scare, it gives peace. Under those wings you feel warmth, shelter, direction. This too is coverage, he says. Not just physical protection, but spiritual accompaniment. When you feel lost, remember this. My wings are over you, and my army surrounds you. No matter how dark the path, divine coverage travels with you. Around you, you feel presences drawing near. Their souls also seeking, also struggling, also believing. The Archangel points to them and tells you, these people don't appear in your life by accident. They're part of the spiritual family heaven chose for you. Some will be mentors, others companions, and others the destiny of your word. Every connection has purpose, and in every authentic relationship, heaven expresses itself. He invites you to reflect. How many times did you reject help out of pride? How many times did you prefer silence to not show weakness? How many times did you think no one would understand you? The Archangel speaks to your heart. Don't confuse independence with isolation. The wisest warrior doesn't fight alone. He fights covered. The strongest soul isn't the one carrying everything, but the one allowing itself to be sustained. In that instant, heaven reveals something sacred. You see golden threads coming from your heart, intertwining with other hearts in different places, some near, others distant. Each thread represents a divine connection, people with whom you share mission, purpose, prayer, or destiny. And you hear the Archangel's voice. These connections are eternal. Not all will last on earth, but all leave mark on your soul. Each one touching your life is part of the plan. And every authentic relationship guided by heaven's love strengthens your shield. Heaven is teaching you something crucial, that coverage also has a human face, that many times God doesn't descend in person, but sends people acting as his arms, ears, words. And that true faith doesn't consist only in talking to God, but also in loving those he places in your path. The Archangel smiles. Don't fear opening your heart to others, because when you connect with pure hearts, heaven expands on earth. Love even if it hurts, trust even if betrayed, help even without return, because all love sown in truth multiplies in blessing. Now he shows you a final image, an invisible temple built of souls, not stones. Every person choosing light is a brick in that celestial structure. You too are part of it. Your faith is a column, your love a door. Your prayers, the roof protecting those who don't yet know how to pray. The Archangel proclaims, you're part of a larger body. You're necessary. Your voice, your story, your faith sustain many. Your battle isn't just yours, it's all of ours. That's why you never walk alone. And as you listen, something inside softens. You understand true strength isn't resisting alone, but learning to lean on the net heaven wove for you. And for the first time, you feel you belong. You belong to purpose, to the plan, to heaven's community on earth. The Archangel covers you with his mantle and says, from this day, you'll be surrounded by righteous people, spiritual allies, souls reminding you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. You'll never walk without guidance again, because your heavenly family accompanies you. Heaven has decreed no one carrying light will be alone, and the mantle's fire ignites. You feel indescribable warmth, as if something sealed inside you. Loneliness no longer has power, because now you know, even in silence, heaven and the community of light walk with you. The Archangel raises his sword upward and proclaims, "Whoever walks in love never walks alone. Whoever walks in truth is never unprotected, and whoever walks in faith has coverage." Take a pause, breathe this revelation. Heaven is telling you you weren't created to survive, but to belong, share, lift, and be lifted. Now seal this moment with a declaration opening doors of divine connection. I belong to heaven's purpose. I walk covered, accompanied, and protected. And if you feel it in your heart, write it in the comments too. I walk under divine coverage. I'm not alone. Heaven surrounds me. Because as you declare it, you join the invisible chorus of all walking in light with you. And heaven confirms your soul is no longer alone. Your spirit no longer walks without shelter. You're part of the great eternal light family. The Archangel stands before you with majestic calm. His gaze pierces your soul, not with judgment but purpose. He knows you've listened, cried, believed, but also that heaven now demands action. Listening to the word isn't enough. It's time to walk it. Listen well, says the Archangel. The next 72 hours are sacred. Heaven has opened a portal of direction and fulfillment. It's not time for indecision or fear. It's time for movement, obedience, and active faith. The air becomes dense, luminous, charged with meaning. The Archangel raises his sword, and 3 columns of light emerge from the ground, representing 3 phases: prayer, action, and sealing. 3 stages transforming the invisible into tangible manifestation. First phase, prayer and alignment, the first 24 hours. The Archangel approaches and places his hand on your forehead. Before advancing, clean your frequency. You can't receive divine direction with noise in the soul. In these first 24 hours, seek silence, not answers. Speak to heaven, but above all, listen. Dedicate intentional time to deep prayer, not routine prayer, but sincere conversation with the eternal. Don't ask for things, ask for clarity. Allow heaven to show you where you've been pushing doors you shouldn't touch, and what paths the Spirit is starting to illuminate. During these hours, write what you feel. Every idea, every word, every inner sensation, keep it. Because what now seems intuition will later be divine instruction. The Archangel says with soft voice, clarity doesn't come with haste, but quietude. Heaven speaks in silence, and who learns to listen stops stumbling. Don't make decisions yet. Just pray, release, and observe. Because the first step of all heavenly direction is aligning the soul with truth. Second phase, action and faith, from 24 to 48 hours. On the second day, the Archangel extends his sword toward you and pronounces, "Now act." Heaven doesn't move with emotions, but obedience. You've listened. Now demonstrate your faith with deeds. These next 24 hours are for taking a concrete step. Do something symbolizing your trust. A small act, but with deep intention. It could be forgiving someone, releasing a habit stalling you, blessing someone without expecting return, writing a letter, planting a seed, praying for someone you don't expect to see. The Archangel says, every act of faith opens a door in the spiritual world. Don't seek to feel, seek to obey. Because heaven moves when the soul dares to move, even without seeing results yet. Walk with purpose. Don't let fear paralyze you. Your action, however small, will be the key activating what heaven already decreed. And as you do it, you'll feel new energy. The security of one no longer acting from doubt, but from calling. Third phase, sealing and expansion, from 48 to 72 hours. The Archangel returns to your side. His wings shine with golden glow, symbol of conclusion and victory. What heaven starts, you must seal, he says. Because what's not sealed with gratitude disperses. During the last 24 hours, dedicate time to thanking, not superficially. Make a spiritual inventory. Thank for what was difficult, what hurt, what formed you. Gratitude isn't closure. It's a key that multiplies. Light a candle or simply sit before dawn's light. As you watch it, pronounce out loud, I declare complete what heaven started. I receive clarity, direction, and expansion. Everything aligns for eternal purpose. Feel your atmosphere change, the air lighter, confusion dissolving, and peace, that peace not from the world, settling inside you. The Archangel raises his sword and pierces it through the light, as if sealing what you've activated. Then he declares, from this moment the prophetic clock is in your favor. Nothing stops. What you waited for starts manifesting, and what the enemy blocked will be restored. The spiritual meaning of the 72 hours. The Archangel explains the number 72 represents union between human and divine. 3 days, 3 levels, 3 opportunities. This is the fulfillment cycle. Each day marks a phase where heaven and earth align to execute God's will over you. First day, soul purification. Second day, faith activation. Third day, promise consolidation. Every hour of these 72 is charged with heavenly energy. So every word you pronounce, every thought, every act has multiplying power. Don't waste this time in complaint or fear. Use it to create, pray, love. Because these 72 hours are the platform for your new beginning. The Archangel leans in, and his voice becomes closer, more human. This isn't spiritual theory. It's a living pact between you and heaven. If you do your part, heaven does its. Don't wait for supernatural signs, because the miracle started the instant you decided to believe. Then he extends his hand toward you and proclaims, in the next 72 hours, what you say with faith will be signed. What you touch with love will bloom. And what you release with trust will be replaced by something greater. Heaven moves with you. Don't stop. You feel his energy envelop you as if the atmosphere hugs you with invisible force. You know there's no turning back. You've been activated in a prophetic cycle, and time is already running. The Archangel raises his sword to heaven and pronounces the final order. Walk, pray, act, thank, because in the next 72 hours, you'll see signs confirming heaven heard you. His figure rises slowly. Golden rain falls in his wake, illuminating the ground where you stand. And before disappearing, his voice echoes one last time, clear as an eternal seal. Whoever obeys in faith opens the clock of fulfillment. Your clock has started turning. Prepare. Heaven is already in motion for you. Do it now. Close your eyes and say, I enter my divine 72-hour cycle. I walk under heaven's direction. No confusion, only purpose. And if you feel it, write it to seal before the unseen. I accept the 72 hours. I align with heaven's time. Because what you declare with intention, heaven registers as decree. And what you decree with faith, God transforms into reality. Listen carefully, because this part isn't just a message. It's a rebirth. What the Archangel is about to pronounce now will rewrite your spiritual identity. Until today, you've lived under labels, guilt, mistakes, comparisons. But heaven tells you that's not you. And the Archangel, standing before you with sword raised to heaven, declares, the time of believing what the world says about you is over. Now is the moment to remember what heaven wrote about you before you were born. The air changes. You feel a vibration running through your body. An energy not from outside, but from within. as if your soul responds to a voice it recognizes from eternity. Because deep down, you already knew who you were. You just forgot it amid wounds, fear, and doubt. The Archangel looks at you and says with firm voice, like a legal decree, you're not the result of your mistakes. You're not the sum of your wounds. You're not the label others put on you. You're child of the Most High, bearer of light, ambassador of eternal purpose. You don't walk by accident. You walk on mission. His words aren't poetry. They're heaven's sentences, and each descends over you like purifying fire. What weighed on you before starts fading. Guilt, rejection, comparison, shame. The feeling of not being enough all melt like wax before the divine presence. The Archangel steps closer and raises his sword over your head. A ray of light descends and settles on you. That light doesn't just cover you, it names you. From today, your name in heaven resonates with new force. He proclaims, because in this instant the universe recognizes your true identity, not as someone seeking, but as someone already found. Not as someone broken but restored, not as someone lost but sent. In that moment, something activates inside you. It's not emotion, it's remembrance. Your spirit starts recalling the original design written before time. You start feeling you're not a fragment but a whole. And the Archangel continues, you were created with intention, molded with purpose, sealed with promise, and anointed with destiny. The world tried to convince you you were small, but heaven always saw you as eternal. The shadows you'd let in, those inner voices saying you can't, you're not worthy, you don't deserve, start disintegrating. The Archangel cuts them one by one with his sword of fire. Each strike releases a flash, and with each flash a truth emerges. You're not limited by your past. You're sustained by your calling. You're not a mistake in time. You're God's answer to a world's need. The Archangel extends his wings, and the space fills with white and golden light. It's the atmosphere of truth. In it lies can't breathe. In it everything false dissolves. And as the light envelops you, you hear a voice, not from outside, but inside. I am loved. I am chosen. I am part of the plan. You don't repeat it. You remember it, because that's your oldest essence. The Archangel smiles, because he sees your understanding. He tells you, when you remember who you are, the enemy loses power, because darkness can't confuse who knows their identity. And faith strengthens when the soul recognizes itself as heaven's heir. Then the Archangel places his hand on your heart and adds, your identity isn't in what you do, but what you are. Not in your achievements, but your lineage. Not in the world's opinion, but in God's decree. In that instant, a light inscription appears on your chest. Property of the eternal kingdom. Not a mark of slavery, but a seal of belonging. You're of the light, and light always claims what's its. The Archangel continues with deep voice, as if reading from an invisible book. Heaven declares over you, your priest of hope, bearer of promises, restorer of generations, living testimony that the impossible becomes purpose. Around you, the atmosphere changes. What seemed chaotic before starts making sense. Pieces fit. The past no longer hurts. It's understood. Wounds no longer weigh. They teach. Darkness no longer scares. Remember who you are in the light. The Archangel raises his sword and traces in the air a circle of fire, within which 4 words manifest, burning without consuming. Faith, love, truth, authority. These are the pillars of your new identity, he says. Whoever stands on them will never again be slave to fear. And then the Archangel proclaims the eternal decree. From today, you'll walk as child of the Most High. Your voice will have power. Your gaze bring peace. Your hands will be instruments of healing. Your presence won't be coincidence. It'll be sign. Your life won't be struggle. It'll be legacy. And your story won't be ruin. It'll be testimony. You feel fire in your hands, expansion in your chest, something inside awakening and aligning. That sensation is the spirit of purpose reconnecting with its source. The Archangel looks at you one last time and with solemn voice orders, declare it, because what's not declared doesn't establish, and what's not proclaimed doesn't activate. Then say it out loud with conviction. I don't fear, I advance. Light guides me, my story straightens. I'm heaven's child, bearer of purpose, chosen to transcend. Feel the power rising from your own words. Every syllable vibrates in the unseen and becomes creative energy. And as you speak, heaven writes over you the word marking your new stage's start, restored. The Archangel smiles, rises amid gold sparks, and declares what heaven says about you is eternal. It can't be changed, stolen, or denied. Walk with head high, because the earth will see in you what heaven already knew. You were made to shine. Seal this moment. Place your hand on your heart and say, I receive my true identity. I walk as child of purpose, not shadow of the past. From today, I am who heaven says I am. And if you feel it in your soul, write it so it's signed in the visible. I declare my identity. I'm light, heaven's child. I'm fulfilled purpose, because when you declare it, you seal it. And when you seal it, nothing can tear you from the eternal truth of who you are. The Archangel stands before you, still but full of sacred movement. Everything around him vibrates as if the universe holds its breath for what's about to happen. His gaze locks on yours and without a word invites you to take a step. A step not with feet but with the soul. Because what's about to occur isn't physical. It's a spiritual transition. Heaven calls this moment the crossing. The place where waiting ends and fulfillment begins, where faith stops being theory and becomes open path. And here the Archangel tells you with firm voice, you can't stay on fear's side. You've listened, believed, resisted, but now you must move. Heaven doesn't bless paralysis. Heaven backs the step. You feel an inner tremor. It's not fear, it's contained power. It's the soul recognizing the instant it waited for over years. The Archangel opens his wings, and sacred wind starts blowing, lifting ground particles, opening before you an invisible path, lighting with every breath. Before you are two realities, the past still trying to hold you with memories, and the future calling with a glow you don't yet understand. Between them, a bridge of light suspended between what you were and what you're about to be. The Archangel points to it and says, this is purpose's bridge. No one can cross it for you. Fear can't accompany you. Doubt can't follow. Only faith has right to walk it. You take a step forward. You feel the ground vibrate, the air lighter as if space itself recognizes your decision. But right then, fear's voices appear. You're not ready. What if you fail again? You're not enough. They're the old ones, the same that stopped you before. The Archangel raises his sword and declares, these voices aren't yours. They're past echoes, shadows without body that vanish when you choose to advance. Don't listen. Every step weakens them. Every decision silences them. Walk because fear shouts loudest just before dying. You take another step and something changes inside. Your heart beats stronger, but now not from anxiety, conviction. The air warms. The bridge that seemed distant now feels part of you. Because that bridge isn't made of external light, but your internal faith. The Archangel watches with satisfaction. That's how the kingdom works, he explains. Heaven sets the destiny, but man takes the step. Don't wait for confidence before moving. Confidence arrives as you walk. Only those advancing, even trembling, see fulfillment's portals open. Then heaven starts revealing what's on the other side. You see a new land, not physical but energetic, full of impossible colors, calm, abundance, purpose. There those who cross no longer look back. Their faces shine with serenity. The Archangel shows you that vision and says, that's your place. That's the territory prepared for you, but you can't inhabit it while looking at what you lost. The past was a teacher, not a home. Don't cling to ruins when heaven built you a palace. You fall to your knees, not in weakness, but revelation. You understand it wasn't the world closing paths. It was you holding closed doors out of fear of the unknown. And now the Archangel places his hand on your head and says, this is the moment the soul stops surviving and starts living. Around you, the bridge fills with golden fire. Each flame represents a decision you make now. Believe, advance, forgive, release, start anew. And with every decision, part of you strengthens. Faith is no longer a pretty word. It's tangible energy propelling your steps. The Archangel opens his wings fully, and his voice rises like a trumpet in heaven. Fear won't be your counselor. Doubt won't be your company. Guilt won't be your shadow. Because from today, your identity is movement, and your step is testimony. Cross, child of heaven, cross, because on the other side awaits the fullness you dreamed of. You stand. Your body trembles, but no longer from fear. It's the tremor of one feeling greater power running inside. You look back one last time. The past is still. It no longer hurts, no longer shines, no longer calls. And you understand closure wasn't loss, it was liberation. You take the final step, and as you do, the bridge lights fully. A wave of energy pierces your body as if heaven's light descends to dwell inside you. The air fills with sound, not human music, but pure vibrations, a symphony only the soul recognizes. Upon reaching the other side, the Archangel bows before you. You did it, he says. You crossed. You overcame inertia. You broke the cycles tying you. And now heaven gives you a new commission. Don't look back, don't stop, and don't let fear be your voice again. Because whoever crosses purpose's bridge never returns to fear's place. A sphere of light descends from above and settles on your chest. It's your new seal. Inside that light burns one word: courage. The Archangel explains, courage isn't absence of fear, but deciding to advance despite it. That's why heaven crowns you with this virtue, because what you did today, few dare. Obey without seeing, trust without proof, move without certainties. That's the faith-moving universes. The air fills with peace you didn't know. Your body rests, mind quiets, and for the first time, you feel everything fits. The pain, silences, delays, losses, all had purpose. Nothing was coincidence. Every tear brought you to this bridge, and every faith step let you cross it. The Archangel raises his sword one last time and traces in the air a phrase shining like liquid gold. Faith is the bridge between what you were and what you were called to be. Heaven opens. Light rain falls on you, and the Archangel declares, walk in your purpose. You're no longer the doubter, you're the advancer. No longer the waiter, you're the activator. No longer the fearer, you're the guider. Walk because heaven walks with you. Now feel the fire inside. That flame never goes out. It's the eternal reminder you overcame fear and chose to believe. You've crossed the bridge. There's no return. The Archangel rises slowly, and his voice fades amid eternity's echoes. Where there was fear, there'll be authority. Where tears, purpose. And where loneliness, presence. The bridge is crossed, destiny sealed, and heaven celebrates your yes. Now place your hand on your heart and say, I cross without fear. I walk with faith. Heaven guides me. My future is open. And if you feel it deep, write it as prophetic seal of your decision. I've crossed the bridge. My purpose is in motion. because every word from the soul has power. And when you declare with faith, the whole universe responds with one echo. So be it, silence, earth and heaven quiet. The archangel before you holds his sword wrapped in light that no longer burns, it illuminates. Everything around shines. The air is full of sacred stillness, as if the universe recognizes something completed. You've listened, resisted, crossed, transformed. And the archangel with deep, serene voice says, the message has fulfilled its purpose. The word was sown, faith ignited, the door opened. Now heaven and earth recognize you as one who responded to the call. You feel in your chest an expansion you can't describe. It's not emotion, it's new life. It's awareness that what seemed impossible has started manifesting. The archangel approaches, places his hand on your heart and adds, you no longer walk seeking light, because now light walks with you. The fire descending from heaven will remain lit inside you, and every step you take will leave purpose's footprints. Heaven opens. Thousands of sparks fall on you like golden rain. Each spark represents a fulfilled promise, released blessing, confirmed sign. And as light covers you, you hear the archangel's voice echoing from above. The cycle is closed. Old energy dissolves. New time begins. Your spirit understands this isn't the message's end, but your new story's start. You're no longer the same who began listening. Fear was replaced by faith, confusion by clarity, doubt by certainty. You've been marked by the divine. The archangel raises his sword to heaven and pronounces the final decree. From this moment, everything said will fulfill. The promise activates. The seed germinates. Purpose manifests. Nothing can stop what heaven already signed over you. Walk without fear, because your steps are already directed by light. You feel that word engraving inside. It's fire, but also peace. Power, but also tenderness. Heaven asks nothing more than one thing: remain believing. Because fulfillment doesn't depend on speed, but constancy. And you've already shown you can wait with faith, advance with purpose, love with patience. The archangel looks at you one last time. His voice becomes almost a whisper, as if the whole universe listens in reverence. When you doubt, remember this moment. When fear tries returning, pronounce what heaven taught you. You are light, purpose calling fulfillment. And heaven doesn't retract its promises. Then he steps back, opens his wings, and rises in a spiral of golden fire. Every movement leaves a trail of glow, as if sowing clarity in the air. His voice echoes one last time in your soul. Don't wait for the supernatural anymore, because the supernatural is you when walking with faith. Don't fear. Heaven is with you, and its seal over you is eternal. Light expands to fill the horizon. It's dawn. The first ray of the new day touches your face, and you know without a single doubt the promise has started fulfilling. You close your eyes and repeat slowly with open soul, thank you, heaven. Thank you for the word, the fire, the faith. I'll walk in purpose. I'll guard this light, and everything I do, I'll do in your direction. Seal this closure with your own words. Write them or say out loud, heaven spoke. I responded. The bridge was crossed. The promise lives in me. My story has aligned with eternal purpose. So it is, so it will be. So it's done. The archangel's voice fades in the distance, but his presence remains in you. He's no longer above or outside. Now he's inside because the divine didn't leave. It awakened in you. And with that awakening, the message ends, but your new life begins.